When a man bends to feed a squirrel in Rittenhouse Square, he is immediately rewarded by the squirrel and by the smiles of passers-by. If a patient in a traditional mental hospital who has been walking about gesturing bizarrely stoops to feed a squirrel, all that the hospital staff are likely to respond to is the gesturing, not the feeding. John Henderson contends that traditional mental hospitals are no place for people in trouble to go. The way people behave, he believes, is the result of the ways they've been responded to. If they've been loved for working hard, they work hard. If they behave in crazy ways, it is because people have paid a lot of attention to them when they were acting crazy. The person whom we call mentally ill is someone who has gotten a great deal more attention, more reward from acting crazily than from acting normally. In traditional mental hospitals, placed far from people's homes, where they treat mental illness as a disease, the staff tends to pay a great deal of attention to patients when they're acting crazy, and to ignore them when they do things like feeding squirrels and working and talking to each other. The staff's own behavior, John says, unintentionally generates more of the craziness they believe they are treating. In those hospitals, acting crazy is rewarding. Acting normally is not. So when John accepted directorship of Spruce House, he did so because it was located in Center City in Philadelphia, because it was intended to intercept people who were going to state hospitals, and because he could design a program he thought would be really helpful. So at Spruce House, we're taught to ignore crazy behavior and reward immediately any behavior that is normal. And since normal people, for John, are those who can socialize comfortably with each other and work effectively, all of the programs of Spruce House are built to reward success in working and socializing.
Spruce House is quite intimately involved in the city. One can look out the windows and see the rush hour traffic not moving in the street below. An ordinary family lives 4 to 8 inches away on the other side of the wall. There are 19 people on the staff. Our capacity in patients, and we call them residents, is 20. 19 staff for 20 patients is a very advantageous relationship. Each case is reviewed in a general staff meeting once a week. We have a part-time psychiatrist, a full-time social worker, Mr. Scholes, who is a program supervisor, a full-time nurse, Ms. Kelly, a licensed practical nurse, and 9 counselors. These are young men, many of them undergraduates in college, and they bring to bear a kind of youthful exuberance and dedication and intensity that you hardly ever find in a paid employee anywhere. So they're not there for the money. They're there for the hell of it. They're there because it's fun, and because it swings, and because they think it's worth doing. And one of the big advantages for me is having an opportunity to work with these people who run me ragged and keep me young.
A day bonus, because his earnings were lower on gym and swim day than they've been any day this week. And I explained to him that on those days, unless he goes to the gym and swim, he can't get, the day bonus. And he's very interested in bonuses.
No, he will go now, I think, because it will become sharp, and it will become apparent to him that he can't earn anything if he stays. It costs him $5 to go, but when he gets there, he can earn all kinds of ripples. So I think this will be effective. You want to talk about Bill now, right? Everybody happy with Frank?
Bill looks?
Yeah. I want to make while we're thinking about it, a comment here. We're rather mixed up about whether we call our currency grants or grickles, and so right now we're calling them both, just to sort of bridge the gap back from grants to Grickles, because we're going to call them Grickles again.
The token economy, of course, tries to parallel a money economy. And if a resident works, he can afford food, he can get better accommodations, he can afford to go on various social functions. Much as if I work, I can get my food. If I work hard, I can afford better accommodations, I can afford various social functions.
You can earn grants tonight, as you all know, and there's two main ways you can earn grants. By dancing and by talking to the girls. Thank you, Jim. The way it works is that for every dance that you dance, a complete dance that you dance, you receive 1 grant. And if you do 10 or more, you receive a bonus. For every conversation of about 5 minutes, that's appropriate, no silly talk, nothing like that, you'll receive a grant. And if you talk for more than 5 minutes, you'll receive a bonus.
On Monday evenings, the co-ed club meets. An evening in which young ladies of the community come in to dance and socialize with our residents. They are also permitted to invite their wives or sweethearts, but not at the same time. We have a man who asks a girl to dance and she says no. But he doesn't give up. He comes back again because he has been reinforced for doing so.
Social programs try to accomplish 2 major goals. One is to produce coherent speech. The second is appropriate social interaction.
Yeah, I know. How long have I been dancing? Oh, I learned just about this year. I started TV. In this hospital, state hospital.
We try to motivate the volunteers to ask residents, do you have a cigarette, or I would like a Coke, or...
Yeah.
They don't have Coke, some guys are Coke.
Oh, you like Coke, huh? Oh.
Coke, do you have Coke? You do Coke.
Yeah. I heard Coke that had caffeine in it.
During co-ed club, you can purchase things according to our monetary system, which are grants.
I got bad nerves, see, I don't drink no caffeine.
Girls do not ask patients to dance like at the state hospital. A group of nurses might go to a social affair and they would look for possibly the most disturbed person to ask him to dance, which is kind of dehumanizing. Now at 9 o'clock, the activity ends, and the counselor at that time awards the grants for the activity.
Okay, fellas, now I'm going to pay you for what you've done tonight in the dance. And I'll just go down the list. Sam? Can I have your card? Sam, you got 8 grants.
I think that without the token economy, some of the residents would never make any efforts to interact at all. If they were getting everything that they wanted from the work program, there would be no reason for some of them to interact. Some of them would be very happy being normal patients in a normal mental institution. This would satisfy every image that they have of themselves.
11? Oh boy, that was good.
Yeah, you and Frank did the best of anyone.
Enjoying myself anyway. I really did. Thank you. Bob, what about my clothes? I rented a pair of pants, tie, and suit jacket.
4 grants.
4 grants? Oh boy, that's cheap.
A man, he starts out in the toy factory where they make blocks for children at the Elwyn Institute. These blocks are sent to them. The toy factory doesn't entail much work. But it's the first step, and it is a big step. If a man can learn to produce there, then he can also produce in other areas.
Most of my duties in the workshop center around making sure that the men know what their job is and know how much they are going to be paid for doing the job. What I think the tokens make a fellow get into the working situation, that you're really not going to work out your problems by sitting off in the corner. But at Spruce House, it tends to be 2 or 3 days, and all this malarkey about I can't do this, I have a headache, I'm sick, seems to disappear, and he's at his job because he wants to eat, he wants to go out on the pass, he wants to go dancing.
When he starts earning a certain amount of grants within a given time, then he is given another job somewhere else in the house. It may be on domestic things. It may be in the kitchen where he has more freedom, where he has to decide a lot of things for himself, where he has to even work harder, but at the same time he earns more, and he's able to buy more things.
For many of our people, smiles and handshakes and hugs are not intrinsically reinforcing. But by associating these social behaviors with chits and in turn with primary reinforcers, such things as a handshake or a wink become established as reinforcing in themselves, so that when the person goes out into the real world, his behavior is maintained by a smile or a handshake. One of the criticisms that's leveled at us is that we are coercive. I can't really reply to that. Perhaps we are. Our defense, perhaps, is that desperate ills, if you will, sometimes call for desperate measures. Work is available, no one is required to work. Neither is anyone required to be paid.
Hey, John, when you get a chance, can I have some more baked beans and a hot dog, please?
Yes, sir.
Tonight at Psychodrama, there'll be 2 payments. Well, there'll be payments for appropriate, coherent comments and appropriate participation in the scenes. All right, and they vary. It's a calibrated scale. They vary.
Dr. Loeb would ask people if they want to get involved in a scene.
Do you expect that you'll have any visitors here?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. I don't expect no visits here.
You are?
You know what I would be satisfied is if my family would at least call me once a week. See, they have a phone, and I used to be able to call them until they got an unlisted telephone number, and that really did got me upset. And like with my mother, when she refused to take me out on a discharge, taking me out for a vacation like. So I just figured once I leave the hospital, I'd rather try to leave it and leave it for good, see? Because since I was 16 or 15, 14, I've been on medication and how old I am now, 21. And since I've been here, it's been practically about maybe my first time since I've been off medicine, and I like to try staying off medication. When I go to bed at night, I just, get this sadness that I want to hear from my aunt. Because I really do miss my aunt, because my aunt, to me, she's been like a mother to me, and she's been better than my mother.
Well, I think what you're bringing up is the general problem, how your family feels about you, or at least how you think they feel about you. Is anybody expecting visitors with whom they might have a little difficulty, and for whom it might be helpful just to rehearse what will I say, how will I react?
I and my sister Mary, my brother-in-law Joe, I expect them to take me home Saturday and bring me back Sunday.
So why don't we start in a little way by rehearsing Mary, Bill's sister, and Joe. And Joe, your brother?
Joe Pepito.
Yeah, brother-in-law coming to visit you on Saturday. Seen a Saturday afternoon pinochle game. Meantime, the rest of the men are talking, moving around, but then there's a knock at the door and the counselor answers. Light, camera, action. Let's go.
Someone's at the door. I didn't see. Good afternoon. How are you doing?
Hello.
All right.
My name is Joe. This is Manny. I'm with those, I'm his brother-in-law, and this is his sister.
Bill, you have visitors here?
Yeah.
Hi, Mary.
Hi, Bill.
Oh,
How are you?
pleased to meet you.
Oh, hi, Dave.
Hi,
How you
Joe.
doing, Lord?
Okay, Joe.
Good. What's these, your friends?
Yeah, let's play peanut.
How have you been?
Okay, Mary.
Yeah, what have you been doing?
Oh, I've been working down in the hospital, on the pot boy down there. I wash pots and pans, and I do darn good, but I'm doing darn good down there, but I need help.
Dr. Loeb, of course, leaves, and the counselor pays everyone and specifically tells them why they are being paid, because throughout the whole program, residents have to know why they are being reinforced, because we can't leave it up to their judgment as to why they're getting grants.
John, you got 5 for your coherent comments. You had 5 comments, or more than 5. You got 5, and you participated in 2 scenes.
The second social group, which is called the Conversation Club, meets 1 hour a week with a counselor as the group leader.
Did you find yourself the right girl?
The counselor has chits, which he awards to residents as they produce coherent, rational conversation. The conversation can range from bourbon and Bach to baseball and boxing. The third socialization group is conducted by our head nurse, Miss Kelly. Now the conversation should be about one's own problems.
You know, anybody in my family, you know, if they really need it, I'll give them. But giving my mother half of my pay, I won't.
They actually do more for one another at this level than I do. They really can sit down and talk about the problems they've had and just how are they going to start solving these particular problems.
I can tell you through my mistake, maybe you could prosper from it. Wherein I made the mistake and it was almost detrimental to me. That's why I say you should be able to get out, go find, like Irvin just stated, go find your own place, get out and face life. Say, I'm a man, I'll face life myself. If you feel like going, if you don't want to even move out of town or out of the city from your family, get your place of your own, go by, bring them, show them your place. I ain't like this. No, that he have to stay with his parents first. Like he say, he worked and give his mother half his money, save up enough money.
Well, I pass out chits, not just simply for conversation, but I will pass out chits if someone actually begins to identify their problem, and then I pass out more chits when they begin to say, I think I can do something about it, and this is what I'm going to do.
That's been my problem in a way. That's scared to face the responsibility, scared to face
I'm arrogant enough to lay my experience on the line against anybody else's, so that, you know, this is kind of a chutzpah, an arrogance that you need in this business. You need to be able to play God, not unthinkingly. I think you have to be aware that you can hurt people, and you have people's destinies in your hands. You ought to be mindful of it. But the alternative is also unacceptable. That is, you know, what the hell use am I to you if I'm not going to do anything for you? A person who gives you unconditional positive regard. What on earth is my use to you if I cannot influence you to change your behavior, your feelings, your thoughts? Because your behavior, feelings, and thoughts are getting you into trouble and messing up your life. So I think that issue has to be faced. If the therapist does not influence, I would argue he is useless. He should be discharged. You shouldn't pay him. The fourth therapeutic group meeting is very interesting in that the members of the group reward or reinforce each other. The therapist, happens to be myself, does not have any tokens in hand. Rather, each man has 6 tokens, which are worthless until he gives them to someone else. And he is supposed to give them to someone else on the occasion of saying something that helps him to clarify his own problems in social living or his own symptomatic ways of behaving.
I'd like to be about 36 and a half years old, but I wouldn't like to have all the anger pent up that I do have pent up inside. So I can solve it easily for other people. I can't as easily do it for myself. I can tell him the easiest way to solve that problem about that letter. To hell with somebody, Kitty, Pat, and eventually to hell with Doc Henderson. Come in and tell him, look, why didn't you do it yourself? Thank you.
The Lord giveth and the Lord taketh away. He tells you in one breath that if you're in his way, he'll step on your dead body, and then he lights your cigarette, an act of friendship, and then he says, why don't you do it yourself?
Pregnant pause.
The total effect of this is to have Gary very much on the ropes. You're very hung up on something, on a relationship between each other, and he probably has a lot to say about the relationships that each of you enters into, so that if you could ever work this out, this thing, whatever it is, that's between you, it might have tremendous implications for all the other relationships that each of you is involved in.
I've lived with lesbians and homosexuals. I've lived with innocent children, 2 to 3 years old, boys and girls, and have the same kind of feelings for both adults and kids. So it's not scary to me anymore, as long as I can talk about it.
And as long as you don't say, I'm...
What they're really doing is a kind of little dance around each other, which maintains a safe distance, and it illustrates the ambivalence that they feel. There are approach tendencies, or they wouldn't be doing the little dance in the first place. But there are also profound fears, which keep them at a distance. So one of the things we're trying to do is to cut through all of this, and to say, let's define a relationship, let's reach out, let's take a chance, we won't die if we're rebuffed. So frequently, troubled people will make one tentative, hesitant overture and be rebuffed, perhaps unintentionally, and retreat into themselves and never come out again. So that we're trying to produce behavior of this sort that will persist in the face of no reinforcement.
Is that how you say, I like you and I think you're attractive, cuddly?
I never get a chance to get past the secretary stage with most women. They're pretty much on the defensive as soon as I open my mouth.
On Tuesday and Thursday mornings, many residents go to the YMCA.
The counselor informs each resident why he qualifies to go and how he can earn grants going to the Y and coming back from the Y, and also, of course, participating in the activities at the Y. They can be paid for effectively following the rules and participating in the volleyball game or whatever the game is.
$5 grants to come over here, which I've enjoyed myself tremendously.
I wish I could stay all day if you want to know the truth about it. I think it's a very good program, you know. It's my first time out since I've been at the house.
That's very good, John.
And in the meantime, your grants that you pay, well, if you come to gym and participate, then you can earn this up to 12 grants. So your 5 grants that you paid, you still earn and come and enjoy yourself.
Now hold your breath. You ain't always going. Remember to hold your breath. Ready? Go. Good job. Good. Hey, that was good. That was good. I mean, you never did that before. That's good.
So, if you can't work, and if you can't deal with other people, and if you act foolish or silly or crazy, you're carted off to the booby hatch or to the state hospital. If you will but stop behaving in these ways, if you will work effectively, get along with other people effectively, you will wear the label that all of us wear. A mentally healthy person, you may go abroad in the world more or less on your own terms.
You should see that, man, how many dances I danced last night. I danced 17 dances. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. And you know what? I'll tell you, I just, forgot one dance. You know, I didn't dance the first dance. All the rest of the dances, I danced 17. And I really couldn't believe it. You know, John? I was really swinging last night. Boy, this here is just like New York. Think so? Boy, this here is just like New York. Well, when I used to go to Paulie Allen, I used to drive these bunk cars. You've ever heard of them? Boy, this here is sit right down.